Hi guys, today I'm going to be sharing a bit of my life update. I came to UK as an international student back in September 2021, and having lived in UK for more than 1 year, I wanted to share a few things that were good for me as well as bad. This will help you make an informed decision if you were to come to UK on a Tier 2 sponsorship visa or also as a student. So let's get started and spill some beans. First thing for me was getting a good education in a globally acclaimed university. Luckily for me, I got admission into one of the top ranking universities in UK, and UK has over 150 plus universities which are really good in their specific areas, and also it is considered that the UK education is considered valuable and valid across the world. So it was one of the main reasons why I chose UK for my masters. And I have heard from many people compare the Indian education with the British education and say that Indian education is not that good. But I beg to differ for the fact that Indian education has its own merits. We have been taught a lot of things, anything and everything, and in a very deep understanding about most of the things I can think about. And it has been very helpful and valuable throughout my academic as well as professional journey. And in UK, it is comparatively different for the fact that most of the things that they talk about during the lectures or in course hours, it is on a very high level basis. So I can say that while I was doing my masters, I found that the lecturers or the healthcare professionals who came to teach us, they talked in a very high level manner. And since I had done my pharmacy back in India, I got a very deep understanding about most of the things, and when they talked about these, I was able to correlate and understand it. But when I asked my counterparts who were sitting in my class who had done their previous education in the UK, they found it very hard to understand, but they made note of those points and went back and researched about it, and that's how these kids develop their understanding, is what I learned from here. And another interesting fact about British education is that for everything you are trying to develop your own narrative as well as perspective, and it is not something that we do back in India. It is said that it is a spoon-fed teaching that discourages us from doing so, but in UK I feel that most of the courses emphasizes the value of bringing your own narrative and perspectives to any work. And I feel that this transcends even into your professional journey, because something that you do in your coursework, like for an assignment, it may be like put your perspective or narrative into action and gets you mark. But when you get into your professional journey, even there, when you get a data or when you find a piece of work, you can put your own narrative and perspective into action. So there is not always a right or wrong in this, but it's just that you are giving your assumptions, and that is valued here a lot. So second is having a high living standard coming to UK. So in general, I feel that UK has fresh air, clean parks, they have got clean roads, and also even the trains come on time. So it is something that it comes with a price as well. I feel like it is very hard to find a decent space which is not shared, paying the utility bills, getting the groceries for the month, doing the transportation, keeping some money aside for fun activities barely leaves you with anything to save at the end of the month, because this is a very expensive city. I can only say about London because that's where I have been living in the UK so far, but I've heard from many saying that when you go to the remote parts of the UK, the living expense is not very high, given that the rents are substantially very low when you go to the remote areas. But if you were to stay in the big cities like Manchester or in London, prices of getting an accommodation is really very high. And also, having said that, I also have to mention, if you were to come here on a Tier 2 sponsorship by a company sponsoring you or your dependents to move to UK, make sure that you negotiate with them about the salary and the benefits, because most of the times what they do is they give you a Tier 2 sponsorship and give you a very basic pay. Because of that, you will not be able to afford most of the things if you were to move here. So make sure that this is one of the key negotiation points. They give you the Tier 2 sponsorship, but also you have to talk to them about the salary and other benefits, and also getting the accommodation is one of the key aspects that you need to keep in mind. I came here as a student and I am on a Tier 4 visa, and I have switched from Tier 4 to post-study work visa, which is again a Tier 4 visa. I have to mention that if you were to come here as a student, given all these expenses, and you get a decent job after your studies, you will surely be able to pay off the loans that you took for studying a master's in this country. So don't be afraid. This should not scare you in your decision making process. Next is, while we move from India to another country, it is always in our mind that okay, we are going to settle in that country. So settle or not settle is not actually an option. But coming to UK, it is quite difficult here, given the fact that if you are a student, you come here on a tier 4 visa, and also because of the post-study work visa, there is a lot of help with getting an employment and staying in this country for another 2 years, but it does not guarantee your settlement. So this is something that you need to keep in mind. Unlike other countries such as Canada or Australia, this 2-year post-study work period is not counted to settlement, and you need to move into a tier 2 visa where a sponsoring company or an organization has to sponsor your tier 2 visa. And staying in that visa for at least 5 years can guarantee you a permanent residency, and after being in that PR period for 1 year, you can then work towards getting a British citizenship. So this is the whole thing. So I feel at this point of time I am finding it very challenging to find a tier 2 sponsorship, and also this should be something that you need to consider in mind, because it is not going to be very easy. Tip would be to ensure that your choice of masters or the career that you are currently in belongs to the shortage list that you can find from the government.uk website, and this is like an Excel sheet. You can search if your career or your profession is in the shortage list or not. And also, if you find a job, you can ensure that if the company is sponsoring you or not by looking into another Excel sheet that is provided by the UK government, whether you can check if they are sponsoring a tier 2 visa or not. This can help you narrow down your options while giving an interview or also during your job search. So it is something that is a limiting factor while moving to UK, because finding the tier 2 sponsorship for every profession and even after Brexit is challenging, but I would not say it is impossible, because you have around 2 years to stay in this country, get a lot of exposure academically, professionally, and even culture wise, which is a wealth of knowledge actually. But also trying to find a sponsorship is another motto and a key aspect that you need to look into. Fourth is that you don't feel much away from home, or does it? I am not very sure about that. Since India was one of the colonies of British back in those days, I feel that there are still so many common points that both the countries still follow, such as the British English is still followed in the Indian schools, and the drive is similar to that is followed in UK. So it is not a big culture shock when you come to the UK. I found that it was similar to India, but much quieter and less populated. Since Brits love curries, there are a lot of Pakistani, South Indian, North Indian, and also Sri Lankan options available just to calm your food senses, and it will help you calm your food cravings actually. If you were to plan to go and visit your family, you will have to think twice about all. The thing is that the flights are really expensive. Getting a two-way ticket back for 2 people is really expensive, and you need to think and plan your journey really ahead. And also, if you were to go to your country, you still have to pay your rent and utility bills, and this is a really good amount. Even when you're not living in the UK, you still have to pay those bills. And also, the time is very limited. The fact that you need to take a 10 hours flight back to India, and from there again a 10-hour flights, it's going to lose another 2 days mostly. And also the limited number of vacation that you can take, I feel it will not be sufficient to cover and meet all of your friends and family in those days itself. So there are companies that give you work from home option, but again you still have that feeling lingering around you that there is a time where it is going to all end. The vacation has to come to an end, and you have to pack your bags and come back to UK. So that's another feeling that I cannot live with. Fifth and the last point is the medical facilities are really untouchable. Literally, when I say untouchable, I have experienced it. The fact that the NHS is the most renowned and the efficient healthcare system across the globe, I feel that the entire system is right now in a lot of chaos. The GPs are striking, the nurses are striking, the ambulance drivers are striking, so everyone is in a strike mode right now. So there are a lot of delays. I feel like getting an appointment with the GP, starting from a common cold to such a major or a serious issues, is such a hassle in this country. And back in India, if you had an issue, you would just pay for your services to the GP or the healthcare professional or the hospitals, and you will be seen by the doctor and according to your severity. But here in this country, that is not a case, because the entire system is centralized and the NHS is taking care of you without any, which is free actually. So there are a lot of delays and the system is in a total chaos, like I mentioned. So I had a recent experience where my partner had a very minor surgery, and the fact that it started bleeding, we had to sit in the emergency in the early morning hours of like 10 hours of waiting hours just to check if the stitch was in place, and it was not out. So this is something that you need to keep in mind if you or your loved ones are coming to UK as a student or a professional. Just understanding that there is a lot of delays in the healthcare system. You need to keep that in mind, because if there are any urgent attention required, this is going to take a lot of delay. So keep that in mind while you're planning your decision to move to UK or not. But I can say from my recent experience where my partner was bleeding after the minor surgery, when we called the 999, I was answered immediately by the telephone operator and also asked about the conditions. They gave me instructions how to handle the situation, and immediately in 1 hour I had an ambulance in front of the house. The paramedics came up and they started looking for all the vitals, and once he was stabilized, he was then taken to the hospital on an ambulance, and thereafter there was this 10 hours delay. So you need to get the complete picture when I'm talking about the delay, but also if there is an urgent situation, this is what you can do, and this is how things work in UK. So I feel like the government is doing a lot of work trying to talk to the strikers and mitigating the issues, but no one can ever guarantee when everything will be back into order. So here you have it. These are my pros and cons that I have experienced living in the UK for past 1 year. And if you were to consider moving from India to UK, do consider all of these points before making an informed decision, and don't forget to carry a warm coat. Until we meet next time, ciao!